Welcome to our online virtual session. I'm really looking forward to hearing all of your pitches in a moment. It's really exciting that you're joining us from so many places around the world. I suppose that's the advantage of virtual. We can easily come together in this online environment from anywhere in the world. So some of you might have some strange time zone differentials happening. So good morning and good afternoon and good evening. I thought I'd tell you just a little bit about where the world is that you're sitting in with these ideas that you're bringing to us in response to the LandSense Innovation Challenge and the wider world of citizen observatories. So together with Onion, I'm also part of a project called We Observe, which is a partnership of a number of citizen observatories, of which LandSense is one. And we've been looking at the different types of citizen observatories that there are around the world. So this all fits under the umbrella of citizen science more broadly, and citizen science is really a growing field and a maturing field. So if you look at the kind of literature that's coming out about citizen science, there's some really excellent books talking about experience on the ground and research outcomes, fantastic guidelines that are coming out of a lot of experience being brought to bear to being able to talk about best practice, and even people incorporating citizen science approaches into their PhD research and more formal research, which is really quite exciting. This particular look at the web of science terminology using citizen science, it's a little bit outdated now. This graph was created in 2016. You can see it goes up to just 2015 in terms of the web of science total results. But you can see the growth of citizen science specific publications, which is really phenomenal, and that bar continues to go up high, even higher now. So it's a really growing and maturing field. And of course, a lot of this is because it's powered by technology. The very thing that's connecting us now over Zoom is connecting most of the world, and it's making us really, really easy for us to share observations with each other, share data with each other. If just looking at the number of mobile phones in the hands of people around the world, and it used to be the case that you'd have to consider the different levels of mobile phones, but really it's a smartphone in people's hands pretty much anywhere in the world, which means a small computer with an amazing number of functionalities, built-in sensors, etc. And this is largely what's behind the growth of citizen science. And as a field of practice, it's professionalizing as well. So anywhere you are in the world, there's a citizen science association near you. One of the very first ones was the Citizen Science Association in the US. I work for the European Citizen Science Association, which was established back in about 2014. There's a really active and excellent Australian Citizen Science Association. And there's growing ones worldwide. The Citizen Science Asia Network is growing. There's a network growing in the African nations, largely being led out of Nigeria at the moment, but that's starting to spread out and gain contact points. And there's even a global partnership above that. And of course, there's platforms for finding information about citizen science as well. So another project I'm part of is the EU Citizen.science platform, which is all about sharing knowledge and project information with practitioners. So that could be experienced people new to running citizen science projects. So from the point of view of how do you get started in running a project, how do you run it, how do you do that well? And if you look at the value of citizen science, there's so many ways of looking at it, and motivation and science learning are typical ways, but there's genuine value in kind too. So if you even just look at some of the most common types of projects are biodiversity and environmental monitoring related projects, just how much value volunteer participants bring into research that would not otherwise have been possible to fund or get done. And the impacts are really huge. So citizen science data is making a really tangible contribution towards the Sustainable Development Goals. And at the top level, it's helping to contribute towards the achievement of these goals themselves. But at the very core level of how do you monitor the development goals, you need data to be able to monitor the progress. And citizen science projects are delivering also that data for monitoring how well we're doing on a variety of sustainability measures. Citizen science data is contributing to environmental policy. There was a very large inventory that was done that was led by the the European Commission's Joint Research Centre and a number of partners, and I happen to be part of this one as well, that was looking at how often citizen science data was used in policy decision-making, environmental policy decision-making. And if you just look at that graph at the bottom right there, those blue bars are showing the number of times that the data was used in policy decision-making, and the orange bars are showing that it was useful towards a decision. So that's really fantastic that so often it can inform decision-making. And then environmental data itself, if you just look at core environmental data, there's a big open data repositories, such as the biggest one being GBIF. And if you look at the number of citizen science projects that are contributing to the GBIF database, and that's the circular graph to the right there, you can see that citizen science data is that blue chunk of all of the GBIF data. Citizen science projects are contributing towards the GBIF data. And eBird is even its own standalone category. eBird is the green part of that wheel, making an absolutely astounding contribution to our knowledge about the natural world, in this case, birds. Citizen science is also very much fitting into what's happening in the worlds of open science. And here you can see how they have really strongly overlapped, that the ethos of citizen science is a really key component of open science and engaging with the public and making research accessible, making data accessible, making the scientific process accessible, that they're very closely aligned. And it's important to keep in mind that there's a lot of terms out there. So not everybody's going to recognize the term citizen science and what it is they're doing. They're doing air quality monitoring. They're doing biological recording. They're doing public participation in scientific research, which is much more self-explanatory in the term. There's a lot of different areas that are making a genuine contribution that may not use this term. So you'll see projects around you or initiatives around you, which are certainly part of this total umbrella of what's happening in citizen science, even if they don't recognize that term itself. And there's a growing knowledge and thinking about, I shouldn't call it knowledge, but a lot of work going into understanding what is citizen science, exactly because there's such a broad number of terms and different ways of understanding it, different historical practices that are coming into it. Is a very rich area, and it's quite important that we can say what it is in a way that's quite inclusive and not too exclusionary. And there's a huge piece of work that I want to point you to with this that's just been happening this past year with a large number of people in the European community, but also colleagues in other parts of the world, talking about what are the characteristics of citizen science, the underlying characteristics. And I really encourage you to take a look at this work because it's quite a much more broad understanding of what all citizen science can encompass. And then, of course, there's the 10 principles of citizen science, which really talks about what is the ethos of citizen science, what should it be trying to achieve. So kind of like a guideline or a checklist for yourself when you're engaging the public in your research. So first of all, it's about that active engagement within the scientific endeavor, that the public can be involved in a whole range of ways as collaborators, a project leader, or even leading their own projects. And the second principle is that they have some kind of a genuine science outcome. And this can mean management decisions or environmental policy decisions as well as blue sky research. And that both sides of the equation get genuine value out of it. Everybody's an equal in the process, giving and taking and sharing in it equally, and getting something out of it that's reflecting their own motivations for being involved in the first place. And just to give you a sense of the wide range of ways in which people can be involved across the scientific research process. It can be setting the research question or being involved in sharing the outcomes and everything across that entire stream. So citizen observatories sit within this world as a slightly more specific type of citizen science, in that they're community-based and they're about environmental monitoring. And this is the kinds of things that you're going to be telling me a lot more about a little bit later on. But just to give you a sense of the commonalities of what citizen observatories are, it's people involved on location at a specific spot, typically using mobile or web technologies to capture data or share observations. It's usually oriented towards environmental monitoring of some kind, and Indian gave a great introduction to the areas of focus that LandSense has had in environmental monitoring. But even, most importantly, there's two directions of data and information. So the participants and the scientists are both sharing information and data back and forth with each other, because this is the rich collaboration that makes it really valuable research. And just to give you a bit of a picture of the range of projects that are getting funded at the European level and the types of things that they're looking at, this is just a little overview of the work that I'm doing within WeObserve, looking at these different types of projects, and there's some of their key success factors and the challenges they're facing. Really wide range. And also a wide range of locations. So just the projects that we're starting to get in touch with within the WeObserve project, and of course there's a ton that we've not found yet or not connected with yet. Just to show you how widely it spreads across, this is a European picture, but it's across the whole world as well. I'll skip that one actually. So that's a quick tour of citizen observatories and how they fit into the wider world of citizen science. And with that, I will stop sharing my screen and see if there's any questions for me.